Oh my God. They get longer. Somehow they get longer. Yeah, on the sound off earlier today? No, yesterday. Right, it's Sunday now. No, it's Monday. I don't even know what fucking day it is. But I said on the sound off, I said, Revolution has had some of the best matches in AEW history, right? I mean, a history of having these types of matches, whether it's the tag team title match from 2020, the dog collar match with MJF and CM Punk, Sting's retirement, right? The Hollywood ending. I mentioned all of these matches. I said, this show here tonight has some very big shoes to fill. And there are going to be people who watch that Texas death match tonight in the main event between MJF and Hangman Adam Page and want to put it in that same category. And you would not be wrong. On MJF's 30th birthday, he went out there and probably had the most violent Texas death match that AEW has ever produced. And we've seen a lot of violence and a lot of blood and a lot of dumb shit that these guys have done to one another in Texas death matches before. So tonight was no exception. It was a very violent match. And if this was going to be the blow-off between MJF and Hangman, the ultimate battle between two guys that have been there since day one, really two OG guys in AEW, then it was a very appropriate match to go out on. But I do have to point out, I think Bryan Danielson said it best. You don't even have to have me tell you this. This was something that was literally said on commentary tonight during the pay-per-view as the match was going on. Bryan Danielson was on commentary. And he said that for all of the Texas death matches that we have seen in AEW, he would like to see a moratorium on Texas death matches for a bit. And I can only hope that Tony Khan was on his headset in the back listening to what Bryan Danielson was saying during the main event in his ear. He's a very wise man, is Bryan Danielson. I hope that Tony Khan takes his advice. We should have a moratorium on these matches for a while, because I feel like we've seen so many of them that after a while you do sort of, desensitized, I guess, but I don't know. I think it sort of lessens the appreciation for it when you get it so often. There's a sameness to it. I think that was the message he was trying to convey on commentary. I wholeheartedly agree with Bryan Danielson. Did the main event need to go 45 minutes? It did not. I think if you would have shaved 15 minutes off that match, it still could have been this epic, violent, brutal, bloody affair and the greatest Texas death match in AEW history, which arguably it was, even with the additional 15 minutes. But I don't think that match needed to go 45 minutes. It kept going, and there were a lot of callbacks in the match. We had the syringe. I've stated my piece on the syringe from the Hangman and Swerve cage match they had it All Out previously. Only this was worse. This was worse because we had the syringe physically going through Hangman's cheek as he was squirting out the water or whatever it was that was in the syringe. And you could see it shooting out, but the actual needle going through the cheek of Hangman Page. So we had the callback to the syringe spot. We had the dog collars. Even though it wasn't a dog collar match, we had Hangman bust out 2 dog collars in the match, which when MJF saw them, he started to have PTSD going back to his match with CM Punk. Not this again, and he tried to get away. So I thought that was a nice callback. Even right down to the finish of the match. MJF hanging Hangman, very appropriate, over the top rope with a chain by his neck as he struggles and gasps for air, the same way that he beat Jon Moxley at All In to win the AEW World Championship is the exact way that Hangman Page went down tonight, to where he can now no longer, never again, per the rules, challenge for the AEW World title. That's what they claim. MJF beat him fair and square. There was no fair and square. Again, he used the Dynamite Diamond Ring. He used the belt. Which is all legal, by the way, in a Texas death match. But in terms of having somebody come out for the assist. I thought that we would see Swerve pop up in this match. I really did. There was no Swerve. There was no Swerve in this match. It was 2 guys who beat the holy fuck out of each other for 45 minutes. And just when you thought, well, that's got to be it, right? They would get back up before the 10 count. They literally went flying off the stage and exploded. There was an explosion. There were flames. There were sparks. They just went right down through an announce table and everything just blew up. And they no-sold an explosion. They got back to their feet and the match continued. There was nothing left for these men to do short of shooting each other in the head with a gun. They did everything that you could possibly do in a match like this. Skewers, barbed wire, chains, chairs, tables, broken glass, explosions, syringes, dog collars, light tubes. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff. They threw everything you could possibly do with each other. Buckets of blood all over the DNA all over the place. But when it was over, MJF stood tall. Now, what that means for the future of Hangman Adam Page, I don't know. We'll see where his story takes him. Do I believe that he will never again challenge for the AEW World title? Not for a second. But certainly he won't be challenging for the championship for a while. He's out of the picture now. And who MJF goes on to next? We'll see. I mean, you would think it would be Swerve, but Swerve is seemingly going to be occupied with someone else who made their return tonight. I will also point out to you the main event ended at 12:30 in the morning. So 5.5 hours of Revolution from the moment that the show started until the moment that the show concluded. So I am fucking exhausted. I had more energy for this 3 hours ago. I promise you I did. But they just beat it out of me. It was a very newsworthy show, though. Beyond the main event and the violence and the gore and the implications of what it means for Hangman, all that was very important. But we had the returns of Will Ospreay, who went after Jon Moxley and the Death Riders, because they were the ones who put him on the shelf last year. So Will Ospreay is back. I know they've been teasing it. They've been airing, vignettes and everything. I still didn't expect him back quite this soon. So that was a surprise, a bit of a surprise to me, and getting physical, no less. So he's back. Kenny Omega is back. He made it back from Japan. And he came out to make the save after the Swerve Strickland match with Brody King. So obviously he wants revenge on Swerve for what Swerve did to him, which is what I meant before when I said Swerve you would think is next in line, but maybe not, because Kenny Omega now is going to be going after Swerve. So maybe that's the match in Vancouver at Dynasty next month. And we had the returns of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, who came out to confront the still tag team champions FTR after their match in what feels like something, honestly, that happened days ago. Like the stuff that happened at the beginning of the pay-per-view tonight, it feels like ages ago. That's how long this show was. And they had so many returns on this show. I don't know why you couldn't save one of them for Dynamite. What's Toni got up his sleeve for Dynamite on Wednesday? He gave it all away tonight. We had a lot of returns on this show tonight. We also, I don't know if this qualifies as a return. She technically did make an appearance once for Ring of Honor. Ronda Rousey. She was on the show tonight to call out Timeless Toni Storm after her match, and the two of them had to be separated. Now, of all the people I was expecting to potentially pop up on my TV tonight, Ronda Rousey was not one of those people, especially given that Ronda has this multi-million-dollar MMA fight coming up in 2 months with Gina Carano. I was not expecting her to pop up in the middle of an AEW pay-per-view, but there she was. And also, we have new women's tag team champions, which I think was a foregone conclusion. And we have a new AEW national champion. Those were the two title changes on the show. One of them happening on the pre-show, which is where I'm going to start here in a moment, because we're going to get through this. This was a very long night. It was a great show. It was a great show, and the only kind of overall critique that I have is about the length of the shows. He has no restraint. He has no restraint. It actually is getting worse in that regard. I don't like when we got to the trios match with Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong is coming out at 11 o'clock at night to wrestle the dogs. Even the dogs. Even the dog. If you have a dog at home, even your dog is looking at you going, what are you still doing up? You walked me 3 hours ago. I saw them coming out. I said, why is this match happening tonight? Why is the main event not coming to the ring? Especially if they're going to go 45 minutes. Why the fuck did that need to be on this show? This is what I mean. So that was my only real problem with the show. Otherwise, in terms of the wrestling that we got on the show, of course, it was great. You look up and down the card, you knew coming into the show. Just look at it on paper. You knew that you were going to get great wrestling matches on this show. And by and large, those matches delivered. So it was a hugely thumbs up show in that regard. It's just, again, time management on this show continues to elude Tony Khan. He's incapable of it. I don't know what else to say. But it's late. Let's talk about Revolution 2026. Those of you who are with me, now some of you have since hit the bed and the pillow, but those of you who are still with me, I thank you. Hit that like button and that subscribe button if you are not already subscribed here to the channel. Super chats are open, and thank you for those of you who have already tuned in to episode 955 of the Sound Off, which went up earlier today. Well, yesterday. Again, I keep thinking it's Sunday. I'll never get used to that. Let's spin the wheel real quick here because I don't want to waste too much time on this. This is just these fucking pay-per-views. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a live AEW pay-per-view review. And this will be the last time for a while. So I hope you enjoy it. 450. Should be easy enough. 450 likes for you to do Be the Booker later on. That is our goal for tonight. We had a few matches on the 0 hour pre-show. So let's start there. We had Boom and Doom. Big Boom AJ of the Costco guys. He was back with QT Marshall. They call themselves Boom and Doom. No, not Kyrie. Good morning, my king. My king? I don't know if that's his name. Said good morning. Yes, good morning. Put some coffee up. Put a fresh pot of coffee up here for the Revolution review. So Boom and Doom, they had the Rizzler, Big Justice, Aaron Solo in their corner. Took on the Infantry, Sean Dean, Carly Bravo with Shane Taylor, Trish Adora, and Christian XO, who is a gigantic woman. She is 6 feet 3 inches. Used to play basketball. Yeah, no shit. She's a big woman. They did nothing on TV to set any of this up until Ring of Honor this week. I take it they had a segment on the ROH show on Thursday. It was added as a crowd-pleasing pre-show match. I mean, that's basically how they use the Costco guys. And it usually gets over with the live crowd. Wayne Brady was there. He wasn't choking anybody, but yes, Wayne Brady was in the front row. Shane Taylor got up at his face. He was daring him to hit him, so Brady slapped him. And Taylor pulled him over the barricade. So now here comes the Rizzler, who likes to touch his face. That's his gimmick. He touches his face. So he comes over and he looks up at Shane Taylor, who's taking shits that are bigger than the Rizzler. And the Rizzler is going like this and he's touching his face. And Shane Taylor shoves him down to the ground. How old is the Rizzler? I don't know. I don't know how old the Rizzler is. He looks like he's about 7 years old. But he gets shoved down to the ground. Are the Oscars still on, by the way? Did Dynamite outlast the Oscars? I wouldn't be surprised if they did. So he got heat for shoving down the Rizzler. And Big Justice comes sprinting over and he spears Shane Taylor down to the ground. Yes, this is a thing that really happened tonight. And anyway, who gives a shit about the rest of this? Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall, they won. And then everybody got in the ring, including Wayne Brady and the Rizzler, and he touched himself, and that was that. So we had Willow Nightingale and Lena Kross for for the TBS championship. Both women were pulling double duty tonight. They had a women's tag team title match later on in the show. The story here was Lena was working over Willow's shoulder, which was going to play a role later on in the show. So she was really working that over. Lena looked good here. Again, she's a very good wrestler. She wasn't winning anything, though. Willow retained the title off a backslide into a flash pin, which is the same way she beat Persephone on Dynamite on Wednesday. I guess this is one of her finishing moves now, the backslide. So after the match, Megan Bayne came out. Two of them double teamed on Willow until Harley Cameron ran out with a pipe and she cleared the ring. We had a 21-man blackjack battle royal for the AEW National Championship. I would read you the list of participants, but what's the point? The only names you need to know really are Ricochet, Jack Perry, and Tommaso Ciampa was also in there. I did see someone, now Dalton Castle was in there, and I did see someone online mistake Dalton Castle for Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and now I cannot unsee this now. Every time I see Dalton Castle, I'm going to think Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So Jack Perry was driven to the arena in a Jurassic Express bus, and the driver was the dinosaur. Luchasaurus was back. Now, he had his arm in a sling, and his arm was wrapped because he's still hurt. But then Jack came off. He was like a bus driver. And Jack looked like a little kid, being dropped off at school. And so he got off the bus, and into the arena he went. Bishop Khan and Toa Leona, they came out with Ricochet. But as they were not in the Battle Royal, they were not allowed to come down to the ring with him, and so they were sent to the back. And this Battle Royal, where the objective is to toss the other participants over the top rope to eliminate them, this Battle Royal began outside the ring. They're all brawling outside the ring, and for a moment I thought I had been transported back to that one shitty reverse Battle Royal that Russo came up with many years ago in TNA. Remember the reverse Battle Royal? What a great idea that was. That's basically what we had here at the beginning. We had a reverse battle royal until finally everybody got in the ring. And I should mention Lio Rush was one of the people who was also in there. Now, I don't remember the last time I saw Lio Rush on AEW television, but apparently he has been possessed by a demon. He was crawling around on remember the movie Megan, right? First one anyway, with the doll. And there was that one scene in the woods before she kills that kid, knocks him onto the road, and gets hit by a car, where she drops down on all fours and she's very creepily like running around. That was Lio Rush in this match. And he was making these weird demon sounds. So apparently this is his new gimmick. Maybe Danhausen cursed him. I don't know. It was kind of fucking weird. Late in the match, Daniel Garcia, he ripped Commander's mask off. As he was struggling to hold himself up on the ropes, he ripped the mask off. And so Commander had to let go. And he was eliminated because he had to protect his face. And Daniel Garcia put the mask on. Ciampa eliminated Garcia. And they did the deal where the Battle Royal bled over into the beginning of the pay-per-view, which they've done several times now. And so the pyro is shooting off on the stage. The Battle Royal is still in progress, and it's continuing here. It came down to Ricochet and Jack Perry. After Tommaso Ciampa got eliminated, they wound up on the apron. Ricochet ended up taking a reverse Poison Rana on the apron, and he fell to the floor. And so Jack Perry is the brand new AEW National Champion. And look, the title changing hands at a Battle Royal, I think, is pretty fucking lame. But it's the national title. So it's like, all right, whatever. If they had done that with the world title, that would be a different story. But it's the national title, so who cares? And the fans in the building, they were happy to see Jack Perry win. His family was there, his sister, his mom, right? He's from California. And they've had so many matches already that, I figured the title would change, but probably in a singles match. They decided to change it here in the Battle Royal. So, again, not really a huge surprise. I had Ricochet winning, but I can't say that Jack Perry winning is a huge shock, given that everything seemed to be building in that direction. Now, they started officially the main card with the AEW Tag Team titles on the line. FTR defending against the Young Bucks in their backyard. We had a video package on the Bucks that was narrated by Matt and Nick's kids, who also came out with them for their entrance. So they came down to the ring. I think it was their kids and their brother Malachi, the one who got beat up by FTR a few weeks ago. It was his kids also. And they all took a seat in the front row with, Papa Buck and all the other Bucks in the front row, Uncle Buck. And they were bleeding within the first 5 minutes of the match. So much for Texas Death. Opening fucking match of the main card. We already had blood in the first 5 minutes. Nick Jackson was busted open. Dax Harwood got busted. I didn't see how Dax got busted. But Dax Harwood got busted open. At one point, Matt Jackson, he was at ringside. I presume with his son. They were head to head. And his son is yelling words of encouragement at him. Get back in there and fight them. Get back in. He's like a cheerleader for him. So Dax took Matt over then to where the Bucks' brother Malachi was, the one who they gave a spike pile driver to. Malachi splashed a drink in Dax's face. When he turned around, here comes Cash Wheeler doing a wild dive out to the floor, but he wiped out his own partner and took out Dax. So the Bucks went for a Meltzer driver later when Stokely Hathaway, miraculously, it's a miracle, he rose from his wheelchair and he stopped them. So that brief distraction allowed FTR to hit a shatter machine for a 2 count. They follow with a spike pile driver on Nick for a 3 count. His foot, though, was on the bottom rope. Rick Knox did not notice it, but then he said, okay, the match is going to continue. FTR hit a BTE trigger. Nick kicked out at 1. And the crowd went nuts. Matt saved his brother from a shatter machine. They hit Harwood with one of their own. And the Bucks hit Harwood with a BTE trigger, and that only got a near fall. So, again, hitting all the big moves, all the big kickouts, that you would expect here. And in the end, it was a Meltzer driver on Harwood who kicked out, and Nick took an avalanche shatter machine, which ultimately led to FTR retaining the titles. Still your tag team champions, Dax and Cash. Now, after the match was over, FTR and Stokely, they're celebrating when the lights go out. And we hear the music, and out comes Adam Copeland. And then we hear the music for Christian Cage, but there is no Christian. Instead, Christian comes out of the crowd behind them. And FTR doesn't realize this. And Christian gets into the ring, and he sprayed something in Wheeler's eyes. I don't know what it was. Maybe he maced him. Maybe he did. I don't know. Sprayed hairspray in his face. Who knows? Some toxic chemical. Copeland flew in with a spear to Wheeler. Dax got taken out. Stokely's all by himself. He's all alone in the ring, and he offered handshakes to both men. Cage, though, pulled him in for a kill switch. Cage and Copeland, they picked up the tag team titles, and they were staring down FTR, who were in the aisle. But then the Bucks get back in the ring, and they come up from behind Cope and Christian, and now they're having a stare down. And then the two teams stare back at FTR in the aisle, and that's how things close out here. So maybe I would say this was probably the best of all the matches that we have seen with FTR and the Bucks, and they have had some great matches before. So for this to be up there as the top one that they've had, it's a pretty damn good match. It was just great tag team professional wrestling with a hot crowd. They had some believable near falls in there. All of the emphasis on the Bucks family and their kids and everything. I thought for sure the Bucks were taking the belts here. So I was kind of surprised to see FTR win. I mean, I shouldn't have been, because we always knew Cope and Christian were coming back, right? It was just a matter of when. And we knew they were going after FTR. But I just thought, well, maybe they're going to put the belts on the Bucks and do Cope and Christian against FTR, not for the belts. And then if they want to have Cope and Christian win the belts, they could win them from somebody else. So they didn't go in that direction, because clearly they want Cope and Christian to be challenging Dax and Cash for the tag belts. And that makes sense given what happened before, when they attacked Copeland's wife. So they're going to reignite that feud now. And the stare down with the Bucks and Cope and Christian was very interesting. That's a match that clearly is going to happen at some point. And so the question, I guess, is, do they win the titles before the summer? And do we then get Copeland and Christian for the belts defending against the Bucks, with the Bucks winning the belts from them at Wembley at Allin? Or do we get a three-way match? Because it feels to me like, why would you leave FTR out of that? And maybe we get a match with all three teams at Wembley for the tag belts. But that seems to be kind of where we're headed here. But those tag belts are going to end up around Copeland and Christian's waist. Guaranteed. I'm not saying it's going to be a long run, but they're going to get their run with them. Tony Khan, I'm sure, is dying to put his belts on the two of them and get them in the lineage of those tag team titles. Timeless Toni Storm against Marina Shafir. Everyone is banned from ringside. Shafir was dominant for most of this. Toni bit on Marina's foot a couple of times. Now think about this. Marina's out there barefoot. She's walking all through the arena. She's walking through the crowd. All the sickos. Who knows where those feet have been? And Toni is putting them in her mouth. She's going to have to get a tetanus shot now. Toni hit Storm Zero. Marina, though, kicked out. So Marina got mother's milk applied. Toni, though, bit down on her breast. She wanted some of that milk. There was a great way to count her out of the hold because Marina just pushed her away after that. So Toni then hooked her into the big package, and she got the pin in less than 10 minutes. The perfect match here to position in this spot, coming off a hot tag team title match that opened the show. You want to have a bit of a come down match. That's basically what this was. But the bigger story is what happened when the match was over. Toni Storm goes to the stage, and she lays down, and she's posing and doing snow angels and whatever it is that she does. Yeah, there was a lot of biting tonight, wasn't there? Biting of bloody heads and feet and who knows what else. It's a lot of weird shit on this fucking show. But she's laying there on the stage, and you could hear a commotion from the crowd, and they cut back to the ring, and there's Ronda Rousey. She gets into the ring, and she's calling out Toni Storm, who sits up and sees her in the ring and smiles and says, okay. And Toni marches back down to the ring, and as soon as she gets into the ring, here comes just this swarm of referees and security to get into the ring in between them. So Toni goes and sits on the top turnbuckle. Marina Shafir sneaks back up onto the apron and just sucker punches her right in the face. And Toni just falls down to the mat, unconscious. Rousey and Shafir, they leave together, of course. They've been friends for a very long time. You know, the original four horsewomen. It was Ronda Rousey, it was Shayna Baszler, it was Jessamine Duke, and it was Marina Shafir, right? All of whom at one time were signed by WWE. So there's a relationship there with with Ronda and Marina that goes back many years. So they leave together. Mina Shirakawa comes out to go check on Toni Storm. Well, that was unexpected. I'll say that much. I did not have my money on Ronda Rousey appearance here on this show. You know, after the announcement of that Netflix fight that she's going to be having with Gina Carano, I will say it's a nice little coup because Ronda has been in the news. It's a nice little coup for Tony Khan to, be able to bring her in for whatever it is that he's bringing her in for. She basically felt like an honorary member of the Death Riders because as the two of them exited through the crowd, Jon Moxley, they showed him in the back in like the tunnel with the other members of the Death Riders, and he was getting ready. His music was playing. He was getting ready to come out for his match. So as he's making his way into the crowd, he passes by Marina Shafir and Ronda Rousey, and Marina smacks him in the face, as she always does, and Ronda gave him a smack too, just to fire him up as he was going down to the ring. So at least for one night, it felt like Ronda was an honorary Death Rider. And oh my God, Ronda Rousey and the Death Riders. My two favorite things. Oh boy. Look, if Toni has got her in for a one-off match with Toni Storm, then fine. It'll be an attraction match, right? It's something, because I was wondering after she won the match, like what's next for Toni Storm? Are we going to do Toni and Thekla? Or like, what's the plan here? Because Toni Storm is still one of the biggest stars they have. And so maybe this is like a little side quest for her, you know, where Ronda's got this fight coming up. I don't know how good the fight's going to be. Ronda didn't exactly look great in her last few fights. But the fact that Ronda hasn't fought in 10 years, it's going to be an attraction. You know, it's going to get a lot of attention, a lot of publicity when she gets in there with Gina, right? The fight's coming up in May. And so if some of that could rub off on Toni Storm and, you know, it helps get them some publicity, then hey, good for them. If it's a one-off, then that's fine. Because I have no appetite or desire to see anything beyond that with Ronda Rousey. I have no interest in seeing Ronda Rousey in an AEW ring for any sort of part-time run, full-time run. I have no interest. I mean, I saw what she was doing in her last run with WWE. Okay, I have no interest in seeing Ronda Rousey have a run on the AEW roster. And I don't think that's what this is. Whatever this is, I don't think it's that. So we'll see how often she's even around for. I'm not expecting her on television weekly or anything like that. I think, honestly, this is probably more to do with, hey, this would be fun to do. And I got friends who work there. And let's use it as a way to promote my Netflix fight. That's what I think this is more than anything else. The only question is, like, there's no way that she's doing a match before she fights Gina. I mean, that fight's 8 weeks away. She's training right now for a fucking fight, and she hasn't fought in a decade. She's not going to be going off in a month and doing a pro wrestling match. So, are we going to get a match? They certainly tease one. If so, when does the match happen? Are they planning for it later in the summer? Is this a fucking Wembley match at All In? I don't know. I don't know what we're looking at here. But as long as whatever they do with Ronda is kept very limited, then, hey, do what you got to do. Get some publicity out of it, and then move on. Because I really don't have any great desire to see any more than that. And it's not like they need help with their women's division. Their women's division right now is very strong. They're in a good spot right now when it comes to the female talent that they have under contract. They are surging when it comes to their women's division in a way that they weren't before. So it's not like Ronda really brings anything to the table as far as that goes that they absolutely need right now. She's an attraction. She'll be good in you know, a limited period of time, and then you just move on. By the way, they did announce we're getting another match between Toni Storm and Marina Shafir for Dynamite this Wednesday, only this time it is going to be no holds barred. Toni won the match tonight, fair and square, but apparently we're getting another one. We'll see if Ronda shows up. We had Jon Moxley against Konosuke Takeshita for the Continental Championship. No time limit, unlike their match in Australia last month, which went 20 minutes. Time limit draw. No time limit here. This was the match of the night, at least up until this point. It was the match of the night. Both men went to the apron where Takeshita missed a Falcon Arrow at one point as Moxley countered into a curb stomp on the apron. And Takeshita came up bleeding from the left eye. More blood. There was a Gotch-style pile driver in here by Moxley. Takeshita, though, kicked out. Takeshita went up top, and he was biting. Somebody mentioned biting. Here we go. He was biting at Moxley before delivering an avalanche exploder. Hit the power drive knee, only for a 2 count. Takeshita wanted the raging fire. Moxley, though, hit a desperation cutter, and Takeshita just rose right up. Big pop from the crowd. Takeshita floated over a Death Rider into the raging fire, and Moxley barely kicked out. I believe the first man to ever do so. Takeshita wanted a power drive knee. His leg gave out, though, and that allowed Moxley to hit a Death Rider for 2. Crowd was super hot for this. Quickly up to the corner, Moxley connects with an avalanche Death Rider, and again, Takeshita somehow kicked out. So the fans are losing their minds. Moxley tries for a rear naked choke. Takeshita fights it off, and he's flipping Moxley off, even though he's, you know, in this choke. He's got nowhere to go. Moxley traps the arm, sinks in the choke, and Takeshita goes nighty-night, which I will be doing here in just a few minutes. And Jon Moxley retains the Continental Championship. After the match, the Death Riders, all but Claudio. I don't think Claudio was there. But they come to ringside. They're applauding Moxley, who offers a handshake to Takeshita. And Takeshita went to go leave, like he wasn't going to accept it. but he stopped. He thought better of it, came back in, shook hands with Moxley. So they pay respect to each other. This was an incredible battle. I may disagree with the finish, but I can't deny that. It was an incredible match. Fans got louder with each successive near fall. Now, I said earlier on the sound off that this goes one of two ways. The way that I was hoping is Takeshita wins the championship. And then you just build to a match with Okada, probably in Wembley, but whenever. It could be anything. It could be Dynasty. It could be Double or Nothing. It doesn't have to be Wembley. But you build to the eventual match, and they both put their respective belts on the line, and you unify them, whoever wins, which should be Takeshita. Or Takeshita loses. But by losing, it results in him being kicked out of the Don Callis family. The fans were already cheering for this guy. I mean, they love him, even though it's a heel faction. So they're dying to really cheer for him against the Callis family. It's only a matter of time before he either quits or he gets kicked out. So him losing could have, and still might, necessitate the Don Callis family kicking him out and saying he can't get the job done. He's a loser. Okada gets in Callis' ear. You got to get rid of this guy. He's the weak link. And they boot him out. And it seems like that may be the direction that we're going in here, especially after that handshake. I think him going back and shaking hands with Moxley, we better get a segment on Dynamite. You know, sometimes they'll do this shit and then they let weeks go by. Like, there needs to be something on Dynamite this Wednesday, on that post-Revolution show, to follow up on what we saw here. Some kind of family meeting in the ring or something. And I want to see some interaction with him and Okada. That's what I'd like to see coming out of this. But again, the fans love the guy. So they're dying for him to pull the trigger and get the hell out of this group. But we weren't done yet. That was the end of the Takeshita portion of things. Moxley, he goes to leave through the crowd with Pac and Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta, and the lights go out. And we got a very corny video. It's like something out of a horror movie. We got a video of a doctor who was tending to someone who looks like they're standing in a tank, and he awakens like some great sea monster, and the monster turned out to be Will Ospreay. Then they cut back to the arena and they play his music. They could have just played his fucking music. We really didn't need this bullshit. The lights go out, you hear elevation or elevate, whatever, and then out comes Will Ospreay. So they did play his music, and he comes out, and he's back. And he rips his shirt off, and he looks like he's in great shape. And he sprints to the ring, and he blasts Moxley, who had gotten back into the ring. He blasts him with a hidden blade. And the Death Riders swarm him. He fights them off with a double handspring Pele kick. That's to Yuta and Pac. Okay, and then another hidden blade to Daniel Garcia. And then he hits a Sky Twister press onto the pile outside the ring. This man just came back. Literally, this is his comeback appearance from major neck surgery. And this fucking guy is out there doing a Sky Twister press on his first night back. I certainly hope he is 100% back in tip-top shape here. Not partially cleared, if he's already out there doing Will Ospreay stuff. But in any event, back inside, he tried for something on Moxley, who escaped to boos from the crowd. So, you know, from top heel in the company to beloved babyface, and now back to being a heel. This arc for Jon Moxley is very weird. Very, very weird. But it's very clear the story is Ospreay looking to seek revenge on Moxley and the Death Riders for putting him out of action. I mean, storyline-wise, it makes sense. You know, they're the ones who put him on the shelf. They're the ones who caused him to have a neck injury. Why wouldn't he want to go after them as soon as he comes back? So that's his target now. And Excalibur on commentary said, Moxley has worked his way into the hearts of the fans, but he still has some crimes of the past to pay for. Indeed he does. Not all of his old sins have been forgiven. So it looks like Ospreay is going to be challenging soon enough for the Continental title. Maybe he's the one. I mean, if they're going to have him against Moxley, then it seems pretty clear to me that he's going to end up with that championship, because for all the people that Moxley now has beaten, including Takeshita, if you're going to have him in a feud with Will Ospreay, and the two of them are going to go out there and have a Continental title match, and he beats Ospreay, what is the end game here? Like, what is the end goal for Moxley in that title if he just beats Ospreay and moves on to who exactly, right? So it seems like they're looking, I think, at Will Ospreay fighting for that championship in lieu of him going after the world title at Wembley this year. And I was wondering if they were going to hold off on that. It all depended on when he was back. But with all these videos they've been airing, it seemed pretty clear he was going to be back at some point in the spring. But I don't know that they want to just vault him right into the Owen, and he wins the Owen and he gets a world title match, at Wembley. I don't know. I mean, after tonight, it doesn't feel to me like that's the likely direction here, but it's early yet. They could do a match with him and Moxley at Dynasty. And by the time the Owen rolls around, they've already feuded and it's over. And then he goes on to, compete in the Owen, and who knows, he may still win the whole thing. But having Will Ospreay back is a good thing. Having him back on the active roster is a big plus for Tony Khan. It's another bullet in the chamber. Hopefully Samoa Joe is due back soon as well. I think the Hurt Syndicate, they should be back on television any week now. I think Bobby Lashley is all healed up from whatever it was that he was going through. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Jay White. But it's good for them to get some of these names back. We had the Babes of Wrath defending the AEW Women's Tag Team titles against the Divine Dominion. Megan Bayne and Lena Kross. In the back before the match, Renee asked Willow if she's been cleared to work with the bad shoulder. And Willow said that she was, but she was clearly still hurting. So right at the bell, Kross and Bayne, they launched Willow's shoulder first into the ring post. She did manage to recover. Eventually, she made a hot tag with the one arm. Pounce sent Bayne to the outside. She spiked Lena with a DVD. Later on, Willow spun out of a jackhammer into a backslide. Same way that she won on the pre-show, but this time only got 2. Bayne and Kross for the finish, they hit a lifting, it wasn't really a choke slam. They kind of grabbed her under the arm and lifted Willow up into the air and slammed her down hard. And Lena Kross, who lost to her on the pre-show, covered Willow on the main card and pinned her to win the tag team titles for the Divine Dominion. And honest to God, my first thought when the match was over was, poor Penelope Ford. What must she be thinking watching this at home? That should have been her. They were going to win those tag team titles, her and Megan Bayne, and she lost her spot. And evidently, based on what Tony Khan said last week, her ankle injury, he never said if it's broken or a bad sprain. It could just be a really bad sprain, but he was talking like, her injury is going to keep her out longer than we thought. So she's not going to be back for a while. But she's watching this going, man, I just can't catch a break. And I got to tell you, like, I'm watching Megan Bayne and Lena Kross out there, right? 2, tall women on the roster. They walk out there. They look to me, it's like the female version of the Skyscrapers. I'm like, this team works so much better than Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford did. Like, you just look at them and they look like a formidable team. And now they're the tag team champions. So, hey, long may they reign. It seemed pretty clear this was going to be the outcome, especially after Willow won on the pre-show. It's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to have Lena Kross lose to a backslide on the pre-show and then send them out there on the main card and lose again? Yeah, if you're fucking brain dead, you would do that. So it seemed pretty clear we were going to get new champions here, and deservedly so. Swerve Strickland, one-on-one with Brody King. Bryan Danielson at this point subbed in for Nigel McGuinness on commentary. So for the remainder of the show, we had Danielson, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone. Swerve went after the right hand. If you remember the angle they did on the Go Home Dynamite this past week, where he He snapped the bad wrist of Brody King over the rope. He went after the wrist. Strickland exposed the bottom turnbuckle, tried to curb stomp him onto it. Brody avoided that, and he set Swerve up against the exposed bottom buckle. He connected on his running cannonball. So he got that hanging sleeper on Swerve over the apron, and Swerve went out, and he just kind of crumbled to the floor. So King went out after him. He was looking for a gonzo bomb. The padding outside the ring had been pulled up. So he had the exposed concrete there, just outside the ring. He was going to give him a gonzo bomb on the concrete. Strickland escaped, and he followed with a vertebraker. He gave Brody King a vertebraker on the concrete outside the ring. So King barely broke the count back inside. But when he got back in, he rolled right into a curb stomp, but he kicked out at 1. He no-sold multiple house call kicks, in addition to a vertebraker on the exposed concrete. Did I mention that? So he no-sold some house call kicks. He would not give in until Swerve finally connected with a third kick, and with that, he got the win. After the match, Strickland ordered Prince Nana to go grab a cinder block from under the ring and bring it inside, which he did. And they placed Brody's face down on it, or his head. He was going to give him a curb stomp onto the cinder block when Kenny Omega's music hits. He made it back from Japan. He did all of his Capcom duties, and now he's back. And he rushes to the ring to make the save, and Omega helped Brody to his feet. Nana and Strickland, they retreated up the ramp. I thought that this was a good, brutal brawl. They found a way to be violent without being overly violent or bloody, because we had a Texas death match coming up in the main event. Would have been nice if other people on this show would have heeded the same thing and would have left that to the Texas death match, but other wrestlers have other ideas. But it was a match with an obvious outcome. There, under no circumstances should Swerve Strickland have been losing this match, right? He had to win this match. They kept Brody looking strong in defeat, hence all the house call kicks and everything he was kicking out of. But in the end, the right person won. I got to say, though, they got to do better on communication here. I don't know how they do it as far as agenting backstage, if they have a system similar to WWE in terms of how, it operates. I'm not there, so I'm not sure. But all of these strong style kickouts at 1, like we had at least 3 or 4 of them, maybe more, at least 3 or 4 times in different matches on this show, the kick out at 1 spot. It's one thing, like we have blood in multiple matches and this in multiple matches, but like something like that, you shouldn't be doing that 3, 4, 5 times on the same show. You would think that there would be some communication between some of these parties here, but evidently that's not the case. I think that's something that they should do a better job of. I just don't think that that's something that should be seen repeatedly over and over and over again. And we're barely halfway into this fucking show. We've already had it 3 or 4 times. I mean, I know the fans pop for it, but do we need it in every match? So the fans were happy to see Kenny. I think it would have meant more if we didn't have so many returns on the same show, right? We had Kenny Omega, and we had Copeland and Christian, and we had Will Ospreay. I think it was overload. I think they probably would have been better off saving one of these for TV on Wednesday. Who knows? Maybe somebody else will return on Wednesday. Maybe Jay White. Maybe Switchblade will return on Wednesday. I don't know. But it's good to have, Omega back now so that we can set up for Omega and Swerve. I mean, that would seem to me to be the match for Vancouver next month. I don't know who MJF defends against if it's not against Swerve on that pay-per-view, but we got to get a rematch between Kenny and Swerve. We had Thekla against Kris Statlander for the AEW Women's World Championship. Best 2 out of 3 falls. Thekla tried using her belt to whip Statlander like they were picking up with their strap match that they had on Dynamite a month ago. Referee, though, pulled the belt away. Thekla got an O'Connor roll into a bridge right next to the ropes, which allowed her to reach out and grab the rope. Referee didn't see it, and so she was able to score the first fall because Paul Turner never saw it. So Thekla goes up 1-0. This was about 4 minutes into the match. This is what I love about these 2 out of 3 falls matches. Doesn't matter what company you do them in, like always. First fall, within the first 3 minutes, 4 minutes, it's over. It's comical to me. Like, you will have these matches and they will throw everything at each other and it will take forever to get a winner. And then you have a 2 out of 3 falls match and get your first pin in the first, fucking 90 seconds of the match. All right, on to fall number 2. It's like, why even have a 2 out of 3 falls match? So Thekla took her time gloating outside. Statlander flew in with a basement dropkick and the crowd got real quiet for a while. Like in the middle of this match, they got real quiet. Not Raw and SmackDown quiet, but they got quiet. To their credit, though, they did a good job, I think, of building. They kind of slowed things down for a little bit, and then they just gradually built it back up. And by the end, in the closing minutes, the fans were into it. Thekla later on got an octopus applied. Statlander swung her around into a Sunday Night Fever, and she got the pin to tie things up at 1 fall apiece. This was about 15 minutes into the match. Just as the third and final fall was starting, Thekla raked the eyes and she shoved Statlander into Paul Turner, who bumped outside the ring. So Thekla kicks Turner in the ribs outside before stripping him of his belt and bringing it back into the ring with her. Statlander, though, got the belt away and just whipped the shit out of her with it. And then hit another Sunday Night Fever. She got the visual pin, but visual pins do not win championships. So we need a referee. Instead, here comes Sky Blue and Julia Hart. They hit the ring. They get whipped, though, for their troubles. And they get dropped with a discus lariat. Paul Turner returns, and he sees Statlander is holding the belt, the leather belt. And he takes it away from her. As Statlander turns, and she turns right into a spear. And then Thekla follows with 2 curb stomps for the win to retain the title. All of the shenanigans at the end, it was done to protect Statlander, especially if they want to run this back. I didn't get the impression watching this, even though you can argue, she had the match won, right? The visual pin, and then the Sisters of Sin ran in. All this bullshit happened. She should get another match. Maybe she will. Maybe on TV. I don't know, though. I didn't have this overwhelming feeling like, okay, we're gonna get another pay-per-view match out of it. We've now had 2 stipulation matches between them. We've had a strap match and we've had 2 out of 3 falls. Do they do a cage match with the idea that you keep the Sisters of Sin out? I don't know. I just didn't feel to me like we're guaranteed to have a rematch here. We might. I don't know. In terms of Statlander, honestly, I don't know if they don't go back to a rematch, what her future holds. Where does she go from here if she doesn't get a rematch? What's next for her? What does she challenge for? What does she fight for? I don't know. I didn't think this was as good as their last match. I thought it was solid. I just think their last match was better. We had Mistico and Jetspeed against Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis. The brand new AEW Trios champions, the Don Callis family, putting their titles on the line. All kinds of big moves here. I mean, as you would expect with Jetspeed in there. I wouldn't say the best night that Mistico has had. He barely got enough of a code red at one point, but the fans were into his stuff. Mistico stopped Fletcher from hitting his brainbuster, and the La Mystica connects. Mike Bailey, he dropped Mark Davis with a kick, and Kevin Knight came off the top with the UFO splash to win back the Trios titles. So as quickly as the Callis family took those titles, they have been taken away. And once again, we have new Trios champions, only this time it is with Mistico and not Hangman. But Pyro shot off on stage while the new champions all celebrated. Knight and Bailey, they put Mistico up on their shoulders, and they put a graphic up that said, Mistico is now all elite. And the fans cheered, and they're parading him around the ring. Excalibur made it very clear on commentary that he is representing both CMLL and AEW. So we have another dual contract signing here. And Mistico was bowing to the fans, and they played his music from CMLL, and he was trying to get the fans into it. It's not as culturally significant here as it is there, but the fans were happy for him, and some of them were singing along, and it was a nice moment. For the people who were worried, I mean, I don't think too many people were. People who use their brain should know better. For the people who were worried, oh, Kevin Knight, he took 2 pins a couple of weeks ago. Oh, the push is over. Oh my God. He lost to the world champion. And then he lost again in the main event. And I'm telling you, like, he's been getting a lot of TV time. He's been getting a lot of attention and love from Tony Khan. He's going to be okay. He was the one who took the losing fall when they lost the trios titles. And he was the one who got the winning fall when they won them back. So all is well. He's going to be just fine. I actually didn't think they were going to take the belts off them this quickly. I was surprised to see them put the belts back on Jetspeed. And Mistico, I didn't know what his status was. I mean, apparently if he's all elite, then they got no worries there. Not that he's going to be full-time. He's still CMLL's guy. But if he's under contract to AEW, that means they'll have greater access to him. So don't really have a whole lot else to say about this. You know, he's all elite. Tony continues to sign a lot of people. He's just signed all 3 members of the Dogs and Mistico now, and who knows who's next. I'm sure he's got 6 more lined up that we're not even aware of yet. We have Andrade El Idolo against Bandido. Now this one, I told you in advance of this that this was the match I was most looking forward to coming into this show. It had no real story whatsoever. I just was looking forward to the actual match. And I noticed also, especially with the placement of this on the show, a lot of lucha influence, because we just came off the Mistico match, and now here in this match we have Andrade against Bandido. So a lot of lucha influence here back to back on this pay-per-view. Crowd was already chanting for Andrade at the beginning of this to take his pants off. I was not one of those people. I'm just saying, there were a lot of people in the crowd who wanted him to take his pants off. It was Bandido, though, who tried to do the gimmick first, and he tried to rip his pants off. And he kind of did, but then his pant leg was stuck, and he was taking forever. He was trying to pull the pants off, and so Andrade just got tired, and he just came over and fucking blasted him and knocked him down, which I thought was pretty funny. So then Andrade slowed the pace down. He drove Bandido throat first on the barricade, and he went to the steps outside, and he gave the people what they wanted. And he pulled the pants off. And Don Callis on commentary, I mean, he probably had a chubby. I mean, he was feeling good. Like, oh man, this is great. Like you could just smell it, right? This is fantastic. I'm like, calm down, buddy. So he takes the pants off, and he approaches a female admirer in the front row, and he gives her a selfie. So there was a spot where Andrade missed a top rope double stomp that led to a released German from Bandido, and the back of Andrade's head clipped not even the turnbuckle, it clipped the bottom rope, which, as they pointed out, is not real rope. WWE uses real rope. It's cable. So his head hit the back of the cable. Callis left commentary to go check on his man and make sure he was okay. Later on, Andrade landed a huge moonsault over the post, and he landed on his feet. He took out Bandido, and then there was another female fan. And he went over and he gave her a selfie as well. Quite the ladies' man. So later on, Bandido hit an avalanche fall-away slam for a near fall. He went for a stretch muffler. Andrade was able to grab the ropes to break it. Bandido, he set up for a 21-plex, and Andrade, he shot up, and he hit him with a back elbow. Bandido caught Andrade with a rolling heel kick at one point that the announcers, they could not fathom how he was able to hit this. So then Bandido hit a 21-plex to Andrade, who was laying prone on the mat, which looked fucking incredible. Just picked him up right off the fucking mat, hit the move, only got a near fall. So he went for another 21 plex, a proper one. Andrade this time landed on his feet, and then he caught Bandido with another back elbow. Andrade went to the middle rope. He hit the DM, which is his finish, and he got the win, which I figured he would. Very strange they didn't make a bigger deal about the fact that he just pinned the Ring of Honor World Champion. Evidently, this is not a big deal. Certainly no indication he's going to be challenging him for the championship. But he got a win over Bandido. Great match. Great match here between these two. Him beating the ROH World Champion. I mean, again, what does it really mean? You know, he hasn't even defended the title this year. We're midway through March. Not a single title defense for Bandido. What does it mean? We had Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong. This is the point in the show where I said, this should have been on Dynamite. This should have been on TV. We could have done without this. We should have gone right into the main event. This did not need to be on this show. My opinion. Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong against David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, and Clark Connors. The Dogs. It's the Dogs, everybody. Allin tried to charge at Gabe Kidd. He went to the apron, right? So he was going to charge at him. As Darby goes to charge, Clark Connors comes from out of nowhere, from inside the ring, diving through the ropes, and he spears Darby clear through the ropes, and they both went crashing to the floor. And I yelped when I saw this. It looked terrible. And terrible, not that the move looked, I mean, it looked devastating. It just looked terrible, and like they took a terrible landing. Right? It looked super impressive, but unbelievably dangerous. If you just land the wrong way there, man, you are fucked. So that was, and they showed a replay of it. That was wild, that spot. So the Dogs they tied the tag rope to a chain around Darby's neck, and then they took turns attacking him while his partners were down on the floor outside. So later on, Orange Cassidy, he went to ringside, and he grabbed zip ties and a pair of scissors. And he cut Darby free from the tag rope. Darby immediately went up top. He hit the Dogs with a coffin drop on the floor. Gabe Kidd got Darby's skateboard, and he tried to hit him with it. Darby cut him off, and he knocks him off the entrance ramp. So now Gabe Kidd is down below, and Darby takes the skateboard, and he jumps up into the air, puts the skateboard underneath his feet, and he comes down with it right over the back of Gabe's head. So Darby gets back to the ring. He hits Finlay with a coffin drop to the back, and they show Gabe Kidd. It cut back to him. He's still over. He's standing next to the stage, and evidently he was tied up, and he's unable to free himself because he's freaking out, right? He wants to get back into the ring, but he can't. There's nothing he can do. Maybe that's where the zip ties came in. I don't know. And that sucks for him because back in the ring, Orange Cassidy hit Clark Connors with an orange punch. Roddy hit the end of Heartache, and Cassidy covered Connors for the win. You know, during this match, we got a very casual F-bomb on commentary from Tony Schiavone. By this point, it was late in the show, and he was checked out. He's just casually throwing around F-bombs. Yeah, fuck this, fuck that. He didn't care. I can't blame him. I was checked out too by that point. So as the babyfaces headed up the ramp, Kidd was still standing there. He was still tied to whatever he was tied to, unable to break free. He's looking up at Darby. They're spitting at each other. And he's clearly telling Darby, I'm going to kill you. Like, you're a dead man. I'm going to kill you. So this feud will continue. I thought the Dogs would win. I thought they should win. If this is setting up Darby's death on Dynamite at the hands of Gabe Kidd on Wednesday, then that's fine. Clearly, the threat has been put out there. But I thought this should have been a win for the Dogs. You know, they're the new guys there, and I think you establish them as much as you possibly can with some big wins. This was their first big pay-per-view match, and they lost. But it's all in the follow-up. Gabe Kidd, he made a threat. Now he has to follow through on that threat. What is he going to do? What could he possibly do to Darby Allin? I actually shudder to think what he could do. I'm sure whatever it is, Darby's like, oh shit, I'm down for that. Not if Darby kills himself for, unfortunately, with all the risks he takes, it's very likely. So anyway, at long last, it was main event time. We had MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Hangman Adam Page in a Texas who said that? Road Dogg will join AEW and manage the dogs. Son of a bitch. Don't give them any idea. He's in signing mode right now. He's signing everybody. I'll put nothing past him. He'll bring Road Dogg in to do some sort of New Age Outlaws reunion. Because that worked out so well the last time we saw that in TNA when they were on the outs with WWE. Or the 3 Live crew shooting on Triple H. Yeah, we don't need that again. Texas Deathmatch. If Hangman does not win the championship, he can never again challenge for the AEW World title. Or as I call it, the Cody Rhodes stipulation. So the match can only end when a wrestler submits or is unable to answer the 10 count. There are no pinfalls. There are no submissions, DQs, none of that bullshit. Hangman comes out, not to his usual theme. There's like a horn player on stage playing him to the ring. So then we got a video package. And this was actually well done. It was MJF riding a horse through what looked like an abandoned Western. I have a feeling I know who filmed this, by the way. Shout out to him if he's listening. But and it also looked very similar to the vignettes they did previously with Bandido. But he's on his horse, dressed like a cowboy, and he's riding through this old Western-looking town. And he gets off the horse, and he goes over to a grave that is marked for Hangman, and he pisses on Hangman. And he had a nice long piss, too. I don't know. He probably drank a couple of gallons before this, but he pissed all over Hangman's grave. Then they cut back to the arena, and here comes the champion. And MJF walks out, and he's wearing a cowboy hat, he's wearing a poncho, and he's wearing tights to, pay homage to the late, great Terry Funk, one of the all-time greats. It was basically the same tights that Terry used to wear. He was dressed like Terry Funk. So MJF, he left through the crowd early. Hangman followed him into the crowd. MJF was already bleeding from the mouth. I didn't even see how it happened. He probably got kicked in the mouth or something, but we're like 90 seconds into this match. He's already bleeding from the mouth. So they're still in the crowd. And a fan hands Hangman a beer. He downs the beer. Hangman brought out, a couple minutes later, the staple gun. Are people still coming up with ideas to do the New Age Outlaws against Cope and Christian? This is horrible. Don't give them ideas. So he has a staple gun. And Hangman grabs a birthday card off the mat, and he uses it to cut MJF in between his fingers. Then he staples the birthday card to MJF's chest. He rips it right off his. It was either, I think it was a birthday card or some sort of, it said happy birthday on it. But he staples it to his chest and then immediately yanks it off. So Page went to ringside. He came back with a window frame, which he set down in the corner. MJF gouged his eyes, and then he took the window frame and he shattered it on the mat. Then he looked into the camera and he said, I'm not going to do that indie bullshit. Oh, really? Really? We have a mound of glass in the middle of the ring right now. You're going to do the indie bullshit and you're going to like it. So Hangman, he slams MJF onto the glass in the middle of the ring, and MJF goes to crawl out of the ring. Hangman grabs him by the legs, and he goes, "You're not going nowhere." Pulls him back to the middle of the ring over the glass. And he's like pulling him around like a lawnmower, and he's going in circles, raking his chest all over the glass. Again, we're mere minutes into this match here. So he goes and he pulls out a piece of barbed wire, and he hits MJF in the head with it. MJF comes up bleeding very badly. Hangman then wraps it around MJF's mouth, and he begins to pull back on the barbed wire. And it looked like something out of a horror movie where you would expect this would be one of those like big kills where he would like yank back and the person's like their jaw would be severed in half. That's what he was trying to do to this guy. So MJF comes back. He sliced Hangman's head open with one of the shards of glass. So we got double juice here in this match. MJF went to the floor. He came back with a broom, and he swept the glass out of the ring. See, very smart. I don't know why more people don't do that. MJF grabs a syringe at this point. And this is where I just rolled my eyes at this. And I get that it was a callback to the match with Swerve and Hangman, their cage match. But as soon as he grabbed the syringe, I said, again with this syringe bullshit. And he brings the needle into the ring, and he takes the syringe and he jabs it into Hangman's cheek, his right cheek, in one way and out the other. So you see the needle coming, piercing the flesh and coming out the side of his face. And whatever was in the syringe, the water, whatever it may have been, saline solution, he's squirting it out of the syringe. Now, whatever was in the syringe, maybe he was just numbing him up so he wouldn't feel all the pain that he was about to inflict. I don't feel any differently about this than I did the first time I saw it. I thought it was just, it's purely shock value. I mean, that's really all it is. It's stupid. I have no desire to see it. I just think it's dumb. It was dumb then. It was dumb now. So Hangman hit a dead eye. And by the way, Hangman had the syringe in his cheek for a little bit before he finally took it out. Like he was fighting back with this fucking thing in his cheek. So he hit a dead eye on top of a chair in the ring that was laid flat and was wrapped in barbed wire. Hangman then hit a fall-away slam that launched MJF into the barbed wire chair that was set up in the corner. Later on, Hangman hit a deadeye off the apron through a table on the floor. MJF beat the referee's count at the last moment. Hangman tried to repeat the deadeye off the apron with another table on the floor. MJF, though, blocked it, and he hit a tombstone pile driver through the table instead. Eventually, Hangman was able to make it back to his feet. MJF and Paige, they both pulled out light tubes a little bit later. Oh, that's my second favorite thing. Light tubes. So they each got one, like they're in fucking Star Wars here, and they're going to face one another off here in a lightsaber battle. MJF, he decides, you know what? I'm going to back away from this. And he begins to go down the aisle, and Hangman is in pursuit. So Hangman ended up getting the better of him. He took the light tube, and he smashes it over MJF's back. Then he takes MJF's light tube, and he smashes it over MJF's head. So Paige got MJF back inside the ring. And then he pulled... Well, we're not done yet. Oh, no. Because we had the syringe, right? We've had barbed wire. We've had staple guns. We've had tables, and we've had chairs, and we have had light tubes, and now we got to get the barbecue skewers. So Hangman grabs the skewers from under the ring, and he tries to jab MJF in the head with them. MJF blocks it. They go back and forth, and they're trying to use them on each other. And finally, Paige, again, it's like this just, I don't know how many were in there, and he just stabs him right in the top of his head. He's like jamming them in there, and some of them fall out and some of them stay in, right? So he's been skewered. So glass. Thank you. I forgot the glass. Yes, thank you. And so now he's got skewers sticking out of his head. So Page goes to the apron and he hits the buckshot lariat, and some of the skewers go flying, and some of them are still in his head. So the referee begins to count. This is still not enough. MJF is up before the count of 10. So we've had skewers, glass, right? Everything. Oddly enough, one thing we did not have in this match, I don't think we had tacks. Now, MJF actually had a tables and tacks match with Mark Briscoe back in September. Did we have thumbtacks in this match? I find that kind of odd that that's the one thing that was actually missing here. Yes, the skewers, I did notice that. Some of the skewers got stuck to his hair. So Hangman now introduces a double dog collar. We've now moved into the dog collar phase of this Texas death match. And he locks the collars around each of their necks. And MJF realizes this and he starts to panic. And he begins to scream, "Not again! Not again!" Right? He's having flashbacks to the dog collar match with CM Punk, which they made reference to. They never mentioned Punk, but they did reference that MJF has a history with these dog collars here at Revolution. So he tries to leave. Hangman pulls him back in. And Hangman pulls a table out from under the ring. MJF is down on the apron. And Hangman is yelling to the fans, "Does anybody have a lighter?" No one did, so he pulled out a barbed wire board from under the ring. "No problem. I'll just use this." And he places the board on top of the other table. Now the fans begin to chant for fire. And again, he tells the crowd, "Hey, if you got a lighter, I'll be more than happy to give you what you want." Nobody came forward with a lighter. Maybe he genuinely forgot the lighter. And he was like, "Hey, I need a lighter. Did anybody have one?" And nobody had one. So Hangman gets back to the apron and they're fighting. And Hangman goes to the middle rope. But MJF grabs the chain from the dog collar. And he yanks the chain. And Hangman goes flying off the ropes down through the barbed wire table that he himself had set up. So Hangman eventually gets up at the very last moment. MJF begins whipping him with the chain, and they're heading back now down the aisle towards the stage. So they're fighting on the stage, and they're getting perilously close to the edge on the right side of the stage. And you can see MJF is kind of glancing behind him, like making sure that, yeah, there's something there because something bad's about to happen. And so sure enough, Hangman grabs him for like a belly to belly, right? He grabs him and holds him in tight, and they both go flying off the stage and down through a table, which explodes. I believe there was like a burst of flames at first, and then there were just random sparks. But it was weird because when they went through the when they initially crashed through the table, it looked like whatever the explosion was like right in their face. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm kind of shocked that his eyebrows didn't get singed off. I mean, it looked like it was like right there, right in their fucking face. And they're laying there like right next to each other, like they're laying in bed, like looking at each other, right? They're right next to each other. And they're lying in the rubble. And I'm thinking they're not going to end this with no winner here. I mean, that would be a pretty fucking lame way to end this match. Because the referee came over and he started counting. And he gets all the way up to 9. And both men get back to their feet at 9. They no-sold an explosion. I mean, if you no-sell that and get back to your feet, I mean, there's nowhere to go from there. I mean, what else is left to do? You've no-sold death. So Page takes the chain, which again is still around MJF's neck, and he literally dog walks him back to, I mean, MJF is on all fours, crawling back to the ring, and it looks like he's being walked like a dog. And the fans break into a chant of, "He's a good boy. He's a good boy." So Page goes for one last buckshot. MJF, though, kicks him in the crotch, and he grabs the AEW World title. He blasts him in the head with it. Hangman then exploded to his feet, at the 9 count to a big pop here from the crowd. And he hits MJF in the head with the belt. One last buckshot is coming up, but MJF decks him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which allowed MJF to hang Page over the top rope with the chain around his neck. Very much how Hangman won the championship from Jon Moxley in Texas back in July. In fact, that's exactly how he won the world championship. Now the same thing is being done to him. And Hangman is losing oxygen. He's flailing around for a little bit, and he's trying to hang on. And he goes unconscious. And MJF lets go. And Hangman crumbles down to the floor. But before he gets down to the floor, as he's falling, he falls forward, and his head smacks the camera on the way down. And it leaves this huge blood stain where now most of the lens is like blurry, and there's like a gob of blood on the camera lens. I thought it added very nicely, actually, to things. It was kind of like one of those happy accidents that I don't know that was planned. I mean, it could have been planned, but if it wasn't, it was a happy accident, because I just feel like it kind of fit the tone of the match here. But the referee is administering the count, and Hangman is not moving, and he hits 10, and that's it. The match is over. MJF wins Texas Death. He is still the AEW World Champion, and Hangman Adam Page can never again, or so they say, challenge for the AEW World title. As of this moment, he can never again challenge for the AEW World title. And, Excalibur, he called it the end of an era. And Bryan Danielson said that it's a sad day for AEW fans. Hangman is, they strap him to a stretcher. And MJF climbs on top of him and holds up the championship as they go off the air. That's the parting image as the show ends. No interference. There was no swerve like I thought maybe there would be. So nobody came out. MJF beat Hangman at his own game. He beat him with his own stipulation. He played by the rules that Hangman set forth. Hangman did everything that you could possibly do to another human being. Dragged him in glass. He used every kind of weapon imaginable. Bloodied this man multiple times. They went flying off a stage. They exploded together. Everything that happened in this match. And when it was over, MJF beat him fair and square. You could scream belt shot. You could scream Dynamite Diamond Ring. It's a fucking Texas death match, okay? They were using skewers and staples. I think a diamond ring and a belt is actually pretty tame by comparison. Hangman used the belt too, by the way. He beat him fair and square, straight up, at his own game. There's no story here where Hangman can be like, well, so-and-so, had to help you out. So-and-so screwed me. He's not the Drew McIntyre of AEW. He wasn't screwed. He screwed himself by picking the stipulation. This was the match that he wanted. You live by the sword, you died by the sword. And that's what happened to Hangman here on this show. And when it was over, I was feeling a lot of things, when this match was over. On the one hand, it was too much. And what I mean is they really wanted to literally do every single thing you could do. And I don't think you need to do every single thing every single time. I said this one 45 minutes, might have gone 46 minutes. It did not need to go that long. I think it could have been just as effective if you shaved off 12 to 15 minutes. So I thought it was a little self-indulgent just with some of the stuff that they were doing. I did like the callbacks. Especially the dog collar stuff. And then MJF's reaction when he realized the dog collars were around their necks. I thought that was cool. The syringe stuff, not a fan. I could have done without that. I just think it's stupid. But I appreciate the callbacks to the past, including the finish. The way that he lost the title match was the way that he won the championship. So I like all of that. In a Texas death match, it's going to be bloody. It's going to be violent. They delivered that. If that's your thing, I don't see how you can find another Texas death match, and they've done a bunch of them in this company, at least half a dozen different ones. I don't think you could find another one that was better than the one that we had tonight. Even though, again, I thought it was longer than it had to be. There were some things they did I didn't like, whether the light tubes and stuff like that. It was Texas Death. So you know what you're going to get coming into it. And I think that they lived up to the stipulation and then some. And I think back to when MJF had that Iron Man match with Bryan Danielson. It was on this very pay-per-view a few years ago. And I've always maintained that is the best Iron Man match that I have ever seen. It is in the #1 spot. And so you could argue now that MJF has been part of the #1 Texas Death match that they have done here in AEW. You know, he's got quite the resume that he's racked up. And not just stipulation matches. I'm just talking matches in general. This run that he has had so far has been pretty damn good. And, you know, AEW, he talks about how everything's up, you know, TV ratings are up and ticket sales are up. They've got a momentum right now with him as the champion. He's the face of that company right now. And they have a momentum that they did not have, in my opinion, 6 months ago or 9 months ago, or even a year ago. It would have been foolish to take that championship off of MJ. Why would you do that? Why would you take the belt away from him right now? He's just getting into the thick of it. He's got a million other people waiting in line. And as great as he's been in these situations, there's a lot more of that greatness yet to come if you put him in there with Swerve, if you put him in there with Ospreay, if you put him in there with Omega. So to take the title off of him right now wouldn't have made any sense. Hangman, as far as how they're going to handle that whole situation, we'll see. I've mentioned the Casino Gauntlet. That could be a workaround to the stipulation, unless they want to stay true blue, which I don't know why you would want to do that. You know, Hangman has been with them from day one. I don't get the impression that he's going anywhere anytime soon. Why you would want to box yourself in like that with a stipulation like that, I don't know. There are ways around it, though, to where down the road, he could challenge again for the world title, because that'll be a story that they could tell later on, right? We've already had the Hangman redemption arc when he beat Kenny to win the belt back. There could be another one 2 years from now. But for the time being, he's out of the title picture now, which is for the better because we've had our fill, I think, of Hangman in that spot. And now it's full steam ahead to whoever is going to be up next at Dynasty. We got Dynasty, we got Double or Nothing. I still maintain if they do Grand Slam Mexico again, presumably in June at Arena Mexico, they should do MJF and Andrade on that show for the championship. Absolutely. 100% should do it on that show. And then we're going to be getting into All-In season. And who gets the shot against him, assuming he's still the champion? Who gets the shot against him at Wembley? Is it Ospreay? Is it Omega? To me, it's got to be one of those two. Can't really imagine it being anybody else. But yeah, these guys went out there and my God, they just fucking obliterated each other for 45 minutes. But I go back to what Bryan Danielson said on commentary. Okay? Just listen to, don't even listen to me. Listen to Bryan Danielson. Listen to the guy who was doing commentary on your main event during the match as these guys were murdering each other, saying that there should be a moratorium for a while in this company on Texas death matches. I think they would be well advised to take Bryan Danielson's advice, especially after this. Because how do you follow up on this? How do you top what we saw these guys do to each other in this main event? Where do you go from here? Like, this is the pinnacle right here. They should absolutely put a moratorium on this shit for at least a year. Take the man's advice. He knows what he's talking about. What did you think of Revolution Sunday and Monday? 76% thumbs up for tonight's show and roughly 24% thumbs down. I had to put Sunday and Monday in there because this was technically a 2-day Revolution. Oh, man. All right, come back to me here. Come back to me here. I'm not ready yet. I have to open the super chats first. Show went so late, I forgot to open the super chats. There we go. We should be able to get through this fairly quickly here. All right, now we can go back. There you go. There you go. There you go. Hey, Dried Chicken. Starting us off. Thank you, brother. Hey, you were wondering what a 2-night AEW pay-per-view would look like. Now you know. Oh, and I have Raw tonight. Oh, joy. That's right. I forgot about that. Ronda Rousey in AEW equals a perfect fit for her. She is going to love pro wrestling again. I guarantee it. I don't give a shit if she loves pro wrestling or not. I don't want to see her week to week on my TV. It says AEW picked the time to have Revolution during Oscar season and College Basketball Championship Week. March Madness Selection Sunday. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much overlap between the AEW audience and the Academy Award audience. Ospreay versus Moxley, potential AEW Continental title match in the future. Says he had that gut feeling if Moxley well, I mean, that seems pretty clear after what we saw tonight. OMG, it's Winky, says just finished episode 955, double dose of Solomonster tonight. I hope you enjoyed. If anyone has a bite kink, was this the show for you? Andrade versus Bandido spoiled Rhea versus Jade's body feud. I'm telling you, I'm still waiting for the pose down on TV with Rhea and Jade. That'll be their next idea. Italian Stallion. Hey, Solomonster, loving the Uncrowned Wrestling Show. Love from Melbourne. Thank you, brother. Do you think that is up there with one of the best hardcore death matches of all time? I'm not a cowboy fan, though. I mean, in terms of AEW, it was the best Texas death match they've ever done. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not an expert on all of the great hardcore matches that there have been. I don't go seeking them out. I don't think I'm the one that you want to be asking to rank them. In terms of the ones that I've seen here in this company, this would be the best one. Chicago for MBK. Can Toni start the pay-per-view at like 1 p.m. Eastern? Well, tell Toni. I think it is absolutely ridiculous that they continue to do this. Yeah, they're on the West Coast, so they don't give a shit. And I got to get messages from people when I don't go live for some of these pay-per-views. How come you're not live? You're live for the WWE pay-per-views, but you're not live for the AEW pay-per-views. Why do you favor the WWE? Oh, you're like, I favor them. Like I favor them. Four matches in a fucking crate. Yeah, I favor them because they're on at a normal fucking time. That's why. It's very simple. You don't have to ask the question. The answer is staring you right in the face. Boss Toys says, last year, Fletcher with the blood. This year, everyone is a shark hungry for flesh. What's with Revolution and fetishes? Also, Charlotte in shambles each time Andrade gets these selfies with someone. Warhog Rambo. Do you think Hangman will get a title shot under a mask like Dusty? He could be the new Midnight Rider. I hadn't thought about that. Well, I mean, he is a cowboy. It would kind of work. The new Midnight Rider. Steve was there live. Incredible show. Hope they say the Hangman stipulation wasn't in writing. Instead, if he challenges for the title again, it's him going back on his word. Well, not if he wins the Casino Gauntlet. I'm just saying, he could win that contract and just keep it in his back pocket for a rainy day. Bender McSimpson. really like the new camera angles tonight, but tell Toni that we need less views of the fans. I did notice that. They were kind of going overboard with all the shots. It looked cool. I just wouldn't abuse it so much. Also, I'm a fan of Ronda Rousey, and I'm happy to see her. Congrats. Dallas says, bad night for my favorites. Takeshita, Brody, Bandido, and Hangman. It feels like AEW is defaulting to the stars rather than the regulars. Not really sure what you mean by that. I mean, we had Kevin Knight, right, and Jetspeed win the trios belts. We had Megan Bayne and Lena Kross, who's brand new there, winning the women's tag team titles. So, I mean, there were definitely examples on the show. Jack Perry winning the national title, if you give a shit about that. I mean, look, you got Kenny back. You got Cope and Christian back. You got Ospreay back. So that's why it feels that way, because they had all the big names that came back all on the same show. So I can see where it would feel like that, but I can't say I entirely agree with that. Bender says this show was way too long, especially for a Sunday. MacTub. Thoughts on Lesnar as an overall performer? I feel only being used to elevate Roman Reigns since 2015 kind of held him back. I think as a performer, he's an incredible performer, and I know he's capable of doing more in the ring. He just, hasn't had to do it since he came back to the company. He has his way of doing things. It works for him. He's got a certain aura about him when he's out there that not a lot of other people have. I guess maybe it comes from his background in combat sports. As a performer, though, I rank him pretty high. It's pretty high up there. Fried Chicken says it would be great to see Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey both appearing on an episode of Dynamite days before their big fight. I'm sure Tony Khan would love that. I think a lot of this has to do with trying to kind of cross-promote, probably for her fight. That would be my guess. The timing of it is just too coincidental. But if Tony feels he can get a big match out of it with her and Toni Storm, and if Ronda's willing to put Tony over, great. If not, then there's no reason for her to be there. Because beyond that, she doesn't bring anything to the table for AEW. But if she's willing to do business, then that's fine. Carlos just got home from the show, and I thought it was a good show. Andrade's spinning back elbow is a thing of beauty. You know what? Every time he hits that, I have no idea how he doesn't knock the other guy's teeth out. Like, he makes it look so good. It looks so devastating. It's a fucking great move. Says, gonna restart the review, so y'all have a good one. You too, Carlos. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Also, he says, Ospreay and Kenny returns made me sob. Thekla is great. Jetspeed should be tag team champions. And Solomonster should induct Demolition into the Hall of Fame. I like the way you think. Never going to happen, but I think I would give a great speech for Dem. I would do them proud. I would honor Demolition in the way that they deserve to be honored. We have Zool. I love that name. This is nice review, Solo. By the way, we need to sign Khabib and Islam to boost ratings and change the landscape of wrestling. Well, if they can wrestle, let's see what they got. Otherwise, I got no use for them. There are so many people on this roster, it is insane. And unless you are someone who is going to really, truly enhance this product in a meaningful way, there just ain't no room for you. Wink the Cosmic Grandma. My first pay-per-view live and only 30 feet from the ring. What an emotional roller coaster. Hangman losing had me in tears. Has a match ever made you cry? Yes. 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 And I'll leave it at that. Base Beer says syringe cringe. Yep. You said it. MacTub, how big of a draw was Austin after WrestleMania 17? He was a draw, but not big enough to prevent there being a business crash, because it was a downhill decline after that, after he turned heel. Worst Triple H win. 09 Randy Orton or 2011 Punk? 2011 Punk. Punk was so hot during that summer that to just beat him, it was so clearly just a personal thing on Triple H's part. Kevin Nash basically said as much recently. It was just ridiculous. Lost Dill, it's 2:30 a.m. and Solo is still live. What a night to be alive with. I'm barely alive, by the way. Why do you despise Wheeler Yuta? I mean, despise is a strong word. I don't despise him. I just don't care for him. The Average Grunt. First AEW pay-per-view of 2026. And another banger in the books. So saith. And then HBKC83. Non-AEW related. Who do you think had more matches against each other? Midnight Express against the Rock and Roll Express, or the Usos against the New Day? Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. I would be almost certain of it. Tuxedo, yes, Tuxedo said it better. Said it better than I did. He doesn't care enough about Yuta to despise him. Yeah, I'd have to really care enough to despise somebody. I can't bring myself to despise the man. I'm completely indifferent. All right, well, the goal was 450 likes, and we are at 555. So I thank you for that. See, Turtlehead knows ball. Turtlehead knows when I cried.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Tony Khan said it's a verbal agreement, just like the Cody situation. Is that about Hangman? See? Oh, so it wasn't in writing. Well, there you go. Hangman can say it wasn't down on paper. I'm not going nowhere. I want my rematch. All right, we have the Hollywood Blondes. Stunning Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. Look at these young guys. Look how happy they are. I've been on a 1992/93 WCW kick. It was so fucking great. What a great period of time. I didn't appreciate it when I was younger. Like the pre-Hogan, like right before Hogan came in. Oh, it was so great. But I was watching, they had it was a match between Stunning Steve and Scott Steiner for the television title. They just uploaded it the other day to the WCW channel. We have the Acclaimed against the Hollywood Blondes. Not bad. What did I think of MJF coming out dressed as Terry Funk? I loved it. I thought it was a great homage to one of the all-time GOATs. I have to say GOATs because there's multiple greatest of all time that people will cite. Some people think Terry Funk is the greatest of all time. Some people think Ric Flair is the greatest of all time. Some people think Shawn Michaels is the greatest of all time. Some people think Danhausen is the greatest of all time. Everyone has an opinion. We have Ivory from her Right to Censor era. And Ivory is going to be taking on Lash Legend. Ugh. Not a very appealing match. Not feeling it. El Dandy. El Dandy, you think is the greatest of all time? Yeah, Bret Hart might actually concur. He's a jam-up guy, that El Dandy. All right, main event. Here we go. Oh, man. Orange Cassidy, who was victorious on the pay-per-view tonight. Kind of appropriate that on an AEW pay-per-view night, he would be in the main event here, would be the booker. Oh. I'm telling you, man, that's the second time that's happened recently where it faked me out and then it switched at the last second. Psycho Sid. Psycho Sid against Orange Cassidy. Well, you know what? I love me some Psycho Sid. He would powerbomb the shit out of Orange Cassidy. I'm here for it. I'll give that the bell. That's the bell right there. And that is your Revolution review. That's all I got for you. I'm running on fumes. If you missed episode 955, 2 hours of the sound off, you will have something to listen to tomorrow morning. So go ahead and download and share it out to the world. I'll be working all day, preparing for the Uncrowned Wrestling Show, which is coming up on Tuesday. We'll talk Revolution, Fallout, and all the other news of the week with the events of Raw. Later tonight, of course, I'll be live with you tonight. I'm going to be back here live with you in less than 24 hours. Talking Monday Night Raw. Turtlehead says, 92 Cactus Jack sounded like Matt Foley from SNL. 92 Cactus Jack was part of that group of guys, man, that were having these killer matches back then. Sting was so over. These crowds, my God, the way in these videos, the way they go nuts for him. It's just insane. But you had the Dangerous Alliance, Rick Rude and Austin and Beautiful Bobby, Ricky Steamboat, Sting, Vader, Cactus, Steiners. It's great shit. Will Stone Cold return tonight? I hope so. How are you going to have a 316 day in Texas and not have Stone Cold there? I hope the only glass shattering isn't the glass that we heard on the pay-per-view tonight. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. Yes, 92 War Games. Best War Games match ever. Ever. And honestly, I think the second best would be 91. But I think 92 beats it out. Martin just said, heading home from Revolution. Martin, I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a very long, exhausting show, but a great one. But just too fucking long. Be well, stay safe, and come back tonight because we will be here again talking Monday Night Raw. Hopefully it is Monday Night Raw and not Mundane Night Raw. Especially coming off this Revolution show. I'll see you tonight. Take care, guys.